going to go ahead and invite Lindsey from Rock the R. We are going to talk about the RQ's second edition today. Hello, hello. Yay!
Hey,
Hi.
how you doing?
How's it going?
Girl, Bailey's out of school for the summer,
Ooh.
so we'll see how if she comes running in here. Hopefully, she'll have clothes on. Maybe the dog will be barking. We're just
Oh, I would love a guest appearance. Okay, so today we are talking about the RQ's second edition. So if you are not sure, oh yes, I don't have a box yet, so I'm glad that you do. But so we have the second edition now. Now, if people don't know this, our RQs were one of the very first sound cues boxes. That's the first one. And that was one of the very first boxes that were part of our Bjorem speech catalog. And so it was time to give it a makeover. We gave our regular original speech sound cues a makeover this year. And then so Lindsey, why don't you kind of walk us through like how you became involved with the second edition, because you weren't an author on the first edition, but now you have chosen to niche down your practice to solely focus on the R sound, which is amazing. And I personally am so jealous. I love it. And so I'm super excited about this deck. I know a lot of people are super excited about this deck. So if you could just start by talking about how you got involved with it and how this like idea of giving this deck a makeover began.
Okay. So like you said, the original RQs, I mean, it's one of Jenny's first products. She's the only author on this product. And so I guess when she was starting to think about giving it a makeover and doing a second edition, she reached out to have a Zoom meeting, and I came with ideas for things that I thought could be improved. And one thing led to another, and she was like, yeah, she let me be co-author, which I just thought was so cool and generous. And I mean, I'll never forget that feeling. I was so excited.
Oh my gosh, that is so exciting.
Right? I'm like, I don't know. I just think it speaks a lot to who Jenny is as somebody who wants to lift others up, and she loves collaborating, and like she did not have to put me, I would have done it for just to help her out, you know, but making me co-author was just so exciting. So then I really got to be more involved with the makeover.
Amazing. So then that kind of gives a good segue to my next question. So how long have you been using the RQ's first edition in your practice?
I mean, since I don't even remember when I bought them.
So it's been a while. So it's been a while.
I don't remember.
So you had the clinical experience of using it, plus your expansive knowledge on the R sound and being so knowledgeable about everything that SLPs need to know, what works for kids and how they understand this sound that is so abstract. And it really is a hard sound to teach because it doesn't have like just one point of contact that is like you put your tongue to the alveolar ridge and you turn your voice on and you get an L. It's like it doesn't work like that. And so that's what makes it so complicated, and that's what makes it so hard and so scary for SLPs to do it correctly. So after using the first edition, what were some of your biggest things that you really wanted to upgrade in this new second edition deck? Like when people ask us, what's the difference? Like, what would you say is the biggest difference between the two?
I think the biggest difference, like if I had to just narrow it down, is that there's no longer little R's in the artwork.
And why is that?
Because, so that's the old one, the new one. I mean, the reason I'm so excited about that, and that's Jen she gets the credit for that. But the reason I'm so excited about her choice to do that is because it's real hard to use something like this for cognitive reframing if there's an R right on the front of the card. So because there's only images on the front of the new edition, it makes it really flexible for the way that you can use it. And for anybody who doesn't know cognitive reframing, meaning like you don't necessarily even have to tell a child that they are working on the R or whatever speech sound, because sometimes that just triggers their little brain and their little tongue to just fall flat, and they think they're saying the R, right? Because that's how they've
Their
always
version
done
of
it.
R. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What they know to be R.
Exactly. And they can get so stuck in that. So really now we've opened it up to where we don't even have to say anything about the R sound. You can use these to just probe, or you
It's
can,
the
I mean,
bulldog sound, or it's the gorilla sound,
exactly.
or and just shaping it differently so that they are viewing it as a brand new sound that they're learning, because it is a brand new sound that they have never been able to say correctly before. And it kind of bypasses that habit loop, which is awesome.
Exactly.
Okay, so then you
The
probably had, oh, yes, yes, yes.
we
Okay,
got a
keep
few
going.
more
Sorry. I was
differences.
like, I was ready to go to my next question,
No,
but we
no,
didn't
it's
even
okay.
get to the biggest part yet.
So another difference, the backs of the old cards, right? Helpful. But then, and again, I can't take credit for this either, because these are modeled after the second edition of the original Bjorem cues. And they are just like so detailed and so helpful as a little guide for SLPs. And I love that you guys are doing the Q-tips now, because so like you can scan that and it's little Shelby's voice, basically like a speech therapist, telling you exactly what you might say using this cue. So I think that's so cool.
Yeah, that was a fun part that I got to help with.
Do you have like a recording studio in your house now?
No, actually,
That's
I'm
in the
pretty sure
closet.
I just figured out the settings on my like Yeti microphone and I recorded it sitting right
Oh,
here.
okay. That's
Yep.
love it. Another thing is the tabs, which I love to keep it organized.
Yes.
Um,
The dividers are huge.
mm-hmm. And I think those are the main differences. And now I can't remember, because this was like a whole process. And anytime I'm working on a deck, and I'm sure it's like this for everybody, but there are so many conversations and so many edits and tweaks, and there's so many steps in the process. And there's been no less than like, I don't even know, 3, 4, 5, 6 SLP's eyes on this. And there's just ideas flying everywhere, but I feel like we added some clusters too.
Yes.
We did, right?
Yes. So there were clusters on there before.
Right.
And some of them are a little bit similar, but talk about another one of the big differences is that there's not only one sound cue for each R sound.
Yeah.
So the first one, there was only one. You had the grapheme on there, which made cognitive reframing a little more difficult. The backs didn't have any cueing help or any of that extra information that is super helpful. And then now there's almost double the amount of cues in there because you added a second one. So not only is the artwork for all of the previous cues different, but now there's also a second. So talk a little bit about that.
So I'll just say, for sure we did add a few more cluster cues, like THR, for example. I don't think that was the original.
No.
I'm trying to make sure as I go, just so I don't say anything wrong. Again, this was like so many conversations back and forth.
Products take a long time to make, guys.
It's a process. But anyway, there's a few new cluster cues that we thought would be helpful. And we also, what Shelby's talking about, 2 cueing options for vocalics. We did do, for every single vocalic, there's now 2 choices. So, and of course I don't have these organized. Why would I do that?
Yeah.
All right. So like the original OR cue, for example, is the gorilla sound. but to give options because vocalics are so tricky and because these are cues that I I use all the time anyway, and this was just the perfect deck to add them in. And like,
Incorporate
why
them.
not? Yeah, why not give SLPs the option? Because you never know what a kid's going to respond to. So like, OR could be the gorilla or the whale. And you should, I might even have a recording of us, but
Trying
when we were
to
coming up
figure
with
out.
these, yes, it was so ridiculous. So like, or for gorilla, right? But then for a whale, we're like, that could totally work. Or like thinking about Finding Nemo, right?
Yes.
And then so like for ire, the fire truck sound is the original.
Mm-hmm.
But to give another option, we thought, okay, when you're young, I think of the word yawn, and of course it's coming. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm sure I will do.
But ire is another option for
I love that
ire.
one.
And I could go through, I mean, I'm happy to go through the rest. But yeah, they all have two options now. And it was really fun to create these and come up with these, and a lot of thought went into which ones we chose because we wanted to make sure that it could make sense for the kid, and it really did sound like that sound.
That environmental sound, right? And I think that's also where the QR code with the Q-tip at the end is helpful, because sometimes like what makes sense in our brains might not be common sense to someone else who is looking at this and is like, how is this an R sound, or how is this supposed to make the ire sound? Like, what are they trying to do with this? Or the one that is the door creaking.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Will you show that one? Yeah. So that's one of the sound cues for ear. Mm-hmm. And it's supposed to be like this like creepy door, right?
Mm-hmm. So these are the options for ear. So that's the original. We added a creaking door sound.
So you have two options. And then this also kind of gives those kids that are a little more hesitant or just want a little, they're like craving more autonomy in their sessions. It's almost like, well, how about you pick the sound that we're working on today? And it's the same sound, but at least they feel like they're choosing which one they're working on, or which one what they're going to call it. And I definitely could see that working for some of the kids that I have worked with. So then with that, working with Ruthie, I'm sure was incredible. I'm just trying to, so Ruthie is, she is our art director, but she's also the illustrator on this deck. And so when we're working with illustrators for the artwork on our decks, we kind of give them a description of like what we want to be there. And then they give us, their kind of perception of that, and then it goes through further tweaks back and forth until we finally feel like, yes, that's the picture that we wanted. So what was that process like with working with Ruthie and getting these images?
It was my first time working with Ruthie. Like, I've met her before and I just love her, and I think she's so talented, and I mean, I love her art. So it was cool to get to actually do a project with her. And it's so whenever we like the process goes, we get the sketch, we get feedback on the sketch, and then we get a colorized image, and then it's finalized, right? So whenever she was doing the sketches, it's just fun to see how the artist brings something to life, but then to bring our speech brains to it. So like, for example, I'm trying to remember, again, this is a process, and there was like 1,000 different, we had a Google Doc, and there's like comments flying all over the place from everybody, but little things like making sure that the rooster was kind of looking up. So this is the second option for vocalic and this is something that I like to use for even sometimes like a more retroflex position, thinking of a rooster like crowing into the sky. I think it kind of helps get that tongue tip up and back a little bit. But so I wanted the rooster looking up, and kind of same thing for the whale, like just trying to, even with the image on the card, invoke the spirit of the R.
Oh my gosh, I love it. Well, yeah, I'm sure that there's all those little details that are so important, but without you explaining that, like I probably wouldn't have even noticed that as being an important piece because you've already thought through it. But now it's like, oh, okay, so there's a reason why even the animals are posed in the certain way that they are. Um, so I love that. I'm trying to think of the other questions that I wanted to ask. Was there any research behind the making of this deck that really stuck out to you?
Well, I feel like a lot of that, again, a lot of that came from Jenny with the originals. So,
Hmm.
like, the research behind her original sound cues in terms of how kids best learn sounds and making it environmental and relatable to them. Um, this deck, I mean, I just got to piggyback ride off of all of that, which was
Yeah, you kind
nice.
of just like married
Yeah.
your knowledge and then had a baby with this deck.
Right. Yeah. Oh my
Perfect.
gosh, Jenny and we had a baby.
You
It's
did.
so
You
beautiful. I
did.
love it.
Um, so then here's another question. We know
Yep.
SLPs will love this deck, but is this something that parents could use at home with
You
their
know,
kids?
I really think so. So, and part of that is because of those Q-tips on the back. I
It
mean,
makes
some
it
of this
really
stuff,
parent friendly.
yeah, like some of this stuff, apparent, like that's voice palatal liquid is not
They
going
don't
to
need to know
mean
that.
anything to a parent. That's okay. Don't worry about that. Like that's just for like us. I'm pushing up my glasses, my metaphorical glasses. That's for us nerds, right? Don't
Mhm.
worry about it. But you can read this, you can scan the little cue card, and you basically have Shelby right there giving the cue to your child, exactly how we would want you to say it. And it even has like the script right there. So I do think parents could use this pretty easily. And we put a lot of time into the insert to make it, excuse me, to make it really,
In depth.
yeah, in depth and friendly, but like in depth, but also,
In like layman's terms.
yeah, trying to make it so easy for an SLP, well, for an SLP to just pick up and like scan it and be like, oh, okay, got it.
Yeah.
But then a parent like could sit down and really read through it, and I think that they could get a lot out of it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, so then what advice, we'll end with this. What advice do you have for SLPs who hate working on the R sound and they wish that they were better at it, but it's just a little bit overwhelming and they're just scared of it?
I think my biggest piece of advice would be like to to even do their own cognitive reframing and
For
their
themselves.
own, yeah, like your own mental reset, and just do whatever you can to come into it with a fresh perspective, to not be afraid to start from scratch. um, because I have done that before, and it's okay, because sometimes you just have to, because students can get in a rut, but so can we. And
Right.
it's just like, it can be brutal for everybody involved, honestly. So coming into it with a fresh perspective, if you can. But then also something that I think more people should do is just take breaks
Yeah.
sometimes. Because if you're just pounding in a motor plan that's not correct, like that's not good for anybody.
Yeah. Okay. And then if they are looking for a place to start to learn, you have Rock the R University,
I
yes?
do. Yeah, I have rocktheRuniversity.com, where we've got some on-demand webinars. And then
Awesome.
rocktherspeech.com has tons of blog posts and resources. And then we've been really trying to do more on YouTube as
Yes,
well.
I was
So,
just about to say that. That's
yeah.
always a good free place to get some quick education. And do you have any videos that, like maybe with some older clients, you would be able to watch the videos with them in a session?
Oh, yeah, for
Yeah?
sure. And that, well, we, now that my kid is home for the summer, I don't know how much of that I'll be able to do, but the goal is to have a whole bunch of videos that you can just pull up in a session and watch with students.
Amazing. Okay, perfect. Well, I'm so excited. We don't have a release date yet
Okay.
for this
I don't
deck. I don't
think
I
so.
don't think we have really selected a date. I know things were kind of like slowed down a little bit, with just like getting it here. So we will definitely update people on when it's ready, but everything on our end is done. We're just waiting for it to get
So
here so that we
excited.
can put it on our website and people can get it hopefully very soon. If you guys have any questions about this deck, let us know. Our DMs are open. Lindsey's DMs are open. Feel free to send us a message. I will be publishing this Instagram Live if you came in towards the end. And then I'm also going to turn it into a blog post on our website if you're more of like I'd rather just read it instead of watch. So I'll turn this into multiple different ways to learn about it. Lindsey has written a few amazing blog posts that I'm going to publish on our site on the new RQs. So we're going to have videos and blog posts and all the things so that you know exactly what you're getting before you press add to cart, before it's on its way to you. And that way, once you open it, you can feel confident with it, flip through it, and then start using it immediately. This is going to change the game for the R sound for so many therapists, and I'm so excited. So
I'm
thank
so
you
excited.
so much for all the work that you put into it and for joining me today to chat about
Thank
it.
you,
And you
Shelby. Always a
didn't have any
pleasure.
interruptions. So we didn't have an unclothed child run through.
Oh, yeah.
I only heard the dog bark once, but it was kind of on cue with the bulldog sound,
Oh,
so
perfect. I
it's
didn't even
fine.
notice.
Yeah, it
And he's been
really was
barking all
like a
morning.
perfect sound effect.
Man,
So it's great.
wow. You're right. I'm so thankful.
You're
That never
probably just
happens.
used to it. It's just your background
I know. He protects us from, we have a flag out front. He protects us from that and the
noise.
car, you know.
He's a German Shepherd,
Yes.
right? Yes. Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, thank you so much.
Thank
And
you.
again, everybody, DM us if you have any
Yes.
questions. Bye.
Bye.